Jack Brodsky, former KGB spy, is joining us now. So listening to what he was saying, Jack, help us understand the tactics for recruitment. And would he be unknowingly, as it has been characterized, aware that he was trying to be either recruited or that they are trying to gather information from him?
Well, let's start with what Carter Page was doing while he was in Moscow. He was working for Merrill Lynch, doing a lot of business with Gazprom. That's the Russian company that pretty much has a monopoly on oil and natural gas. A huge company, and if there's any company that is under control of the Russian government and Putin himself, that's it. Now, historically, those kinds of enterprises were infiltrated by agents. Why would that have changed? So it is quite likely that Mr. Page also had contact with other agents while doing business. And it is quite likely that they were giving reports back to their handlers, whether they were direct employees or unofficial workers on behalf of intelligence services. And it's quite likely there's a dossier about Carter Page and a lot of folks who do business in Moscow with those companies. So that's how it works. And then we find out, how can we, I'm now the intelligence agent. How can we use that information? How can we, and recruiting somebody is sort of like, would be the crown jewel. You got to be really careful because you're most likely going to tick them off and not get any value out of this particular individual. So find a way to hook them and feed them information, work with them in some way, and apparently they did.
It's almost like a grooming process? Would that be
not
a
as
right
much grooming.
characterization?
It's like having an asset there who doesn't know that there are an asset. Yeah. And you're playing also into what greed, arrogance, ego. If you are being built up by the Russian government as being an expert in one of the most influential people in foreign policy in the United States, that feels good, doesn't it?
And this may get to my question here. Why Carter Page? Because he was not in the upper echelon of foreign policy decisions for the Trump campaign or Trump transition. But if they were trying to get someone who could influence the then candidate Trump or now President Trump, why go for Carter Page, who, at least by the reporting we have, wasn't really on the inside?
Well, you take what you can get, and obviously there were relationships there. There was an angle. When I was operating in this country, they asked me to get in touch with all kinds of high-level individuals. Well, that wasn't possible. So Carter Page was most likely a very inviting target.
Now, is it possible that, or even credible to think that he did not know that he was being used?
It is quite likely that he didn't know.
Okay.
There's one thing, there's this statement that he made that he was aware that when you deal with Russian business people that they could be infiltrated by Secret Service. I think that's an after-the-fact statement. In my opinion, Americans are rather naive when it comes to these types of issues. Case in point, how many times have you heard that people are hacked because they are subject to phishing operations? We are quite naive as a country. There's a whole lot of that stuff going on there, and I think we need to be, as a country, as a population, become more aware of these things.
So besides the email hacks and the propaganda and the trying to infiltrate that orbit, as it's called, the Trump orbit, what else might they have done, or how much do you think they truly may have influenced this election?
Well, now you're asking me to step out of my sandbox, and I can't do that. I can't speculate.
Okay.
The only thing I can tell you is they tried as much as they could. At this point, I believe there's no evidence that they actually succeeded. As a matter of fact, if indeed they were, after having better relationships and having the sanctions lifted, it backfired, which happens very often in an intelligence type operation, that you can't control all the players, and their ego is involved, and their individual agendas involved. So what happened right now, we don't have good relations. right?
You know, much of what we're discussing this morning is the likelihood and the plausibility of some of these ideas. And without the full information from the FBI, we don't know.
That's right.
Absolutely. But if they tried to infiltrate Carter Page, what's the likelihood that there are more, or potentially more, that they use to try to get into the inside
More
of this campaign?
attempts?
Or others?
Quite likely.
Yeah.
Quite likely. Success? Don't know.
Yeah.
But, you know, that's why there's an investigation, and I would hope that there are not any more leaks about this stuff. Let the FBI do their work.